Today, we're addressing an important question. Did Jesus himself claim that he is not God when he said, "The Father is greater than I" in John 14, verse 28? This question is crucial, especially for those who seek to understand the relationship between Jesus and the Father within the Christian doctrine of the Trinity. Let's begin by examining the passage in John 14, verse 28. Jesus says, "You heard that I said to you, I go away, and I will come to you. If you loved me, you would have rejoiced because I go to the Father, for the Father is greater than I." At first glance, it might seem that Jesus is suggesting that he is somehow less than God. However, to fully understand the statement, we must delve into the broader context and the language used. The Greek word used here for greater is meison, which does not necessarily mean greater in nature or essence. It can also mean greater in position, rank, or authority. For example, in Matthew 11, verse 11, Jesus says that among those born of women, there has not risen anyone greater than John the Baptist. Yet John and the rest of humanity share the same human nature. The term greater here refers to John's role and position, not his essence. Similarly, in John 13, verse 16, Jesus states that a slave is not greater than his master, again indicating a difference in position, not in essence. When we look at the broader context of John 14, we see Jesus making several claims that affirm his divinity. For instance, in John 14, verses 13 to 14, Jesus promises, "And I will do whatever you ask in my name, so that the Son may bring glory to the Father. You may ask me for anything in my name, and I will do it." Only someone who is omnipotent and omniscient can make such a promise. Jesus is clearly saying that he has the authority and power to answer prayers, a prerogative that belongs only to God. Furthermore, in John 14, verses 20 to 21, Jesus says, "On that day you will realize that I am in my Father, and you are in me, and I am in you." Jesus is claiming omnipresence, a characteristic of God, by stating that he is present within all believers. It's important to understand that within the Trinity, while the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are co-equal in essence, there is a difference in roles and relationships. When Jesus says the Father is greater, he's speaking from his position as the Son who took on human flesh. Philippians 2 verses 5 to 8 tells us that Jesus, though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but made himself nothing, taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men. In this role as a servant, Jesus was willingly submitting to the Father's authority, not because he was less than God, but because he chose to humble himself for the sake of humanity. Even though Jesus was in a role of submission during his earthly ministry, he never ceased to be fully God. This is evident in John 10, verse 30, where Jesus declares, "I and the Father are one." The Jews understood this as a claim to equality with God, which is why they accused him of blasphemy. John 10, verse 33. Jesus was not merely claiming to act on God's behalf. He was asserting that he shared the same divine nature as the Father. Finally, in John 17, verse 5, Jesus prays, "And now, Father, glorify me in your presence with the glory I had with you before the world began." Here, Jesus looks forward to returning to the divine glory he shared with the Father before his incarnation. This prayer shows that Jesus' temporary position of humility and submission on earth does not negate his eternal divinity. In conclusion, when Jesus says that the Father is greater than he is referring to his position as the incarnate Son who came to serve and to suffer for the sake of humanity. This statement does not undermine his divinity, but highlights the depth of his humility and love. Within the Trinity, Jesus is co-equal with the Father in essence and nature, yet he willingly took on a role of submission to fulfill God's plan of salvation. As Christians, we hold to the truth that Jesus is both fully God and fully man, and his statement in John 14, verse 28 must be understood in light of the entire biblical witness to his divine identity.